Captain.
Ahoy, landlubbers! Today we talk about the 5 worst enemies in the game. I can feel your excitement, so I won't waste any time telling you about my criterias and hoist the sails already. Let's start with Seahorse. I know it's officially a sea dragon, but we already have more than enough of them. Seahorse is a normal enemy in deep water, and no one expects a normal enemy in the second world to be a huge threat. But being that bad definitely justifies the 5th place. Let's start with its ability. Every second turn this card deals 4 damage, heals 4 HP and gains 4 shield. These numbers obviously don't scale, because abilities in general don't. So it applies super low numbers every second turn. Does it at least work good with its moveset? Short answer, not at all. Seahorse has shield, attack and heal as moves. Attacks come every second turn, so whenever it attacks, also its ability triggers. That means every second turn the player doesn't have to shield at all. Also, it never crits and doesn't apply any debuff. So let's summarize it real quick. Seahorse has a useless ability. 50% of its turns, no damage is applied to the player at all. It doesn't crit nor debuff, and he dreams of being a dragon while he's clearly a horse. Any doubts he deserves rank 5? Rank 4 goes to this creepy crawly friend, Mutant Insect. He's a 3rd world elite enemy, so you expect it to be at least a little threat. Let's start with its terrible stats. 5 base damage is 1 less than Seahorse has. But don't worry, Mutant Insect has an ability to compensate it. It gets 1 more damage every turn, together with 10 max HP. Good job, mate. So it scales very slow. And it's fair to say it can't really compensate its bad stats at all. So can it at least convince with its moveset? First of all, the starting turn is entirely free. So the player can chill a bit, set up his tactic, feel super warm and comfy. What a nice guy this bug is. The rest of the moveset is decent. It attacks on 7 of 10 turns. Crits 3 times. Sadly, there are no debuffs, so the only attempt to stop the player from killing this little pest is the little shield it applies to itself from time to time. It doesn't even heal, so before he gets to scale remotely high with its ability, it's already dead. Mutant Insect only scales in theory. Is more lost than its world could ever be, and originally its ability started after it reaching 50% HP, so it was even worse. I bet even players with an insect phobia laugh at him. Definitely the worst elite in the game. Now, after a wannabe dragon and a giant useless insect, the rest of this list is reserved for real dragons. After you fought your way through 3 dangerous worlds, you expect the last one to be a really satisfying challenge. And yes, if you enter Reign of the Dead, you get exactly that. While Dragonland is more like a coupon for a free win. Emerald Dragon is one of the best examples of why Dragonland is way too easy. He is supposed to counter poison decks, and used to do that in a very annoying way. Now it got changed, and this former forest enemy dies to a druid deck that only builds up shield and poison. Great counter. Its moveset is harmless too. First turn is free for the player, and after then you have to defend against 2 attacks while frailed. Sadly, None of that is a crit. So what's left to say? Emerald is a great example of what's wrong with Dragonland. Great concepts, noble intentions, but the result is a harmless pet dragon. Third worst enemy in the Dragonland and also on this list. And here is the reason and also the summary of why Dragonland is so easy. Terror is an end boss of this world. That means it has to be compared with Skeleton King and Evil Elemental. Spoiler, it's a joke compared to them. Terror has a pretty cool concept. He invoked the enemies you just faced in Dragonland again and supports them with its moveset. He crits pretty hard, applies weak and frail, and can even evoke a second helper. Sadly, he never crits when the player is frailed, so his minions have to deal the damage. So, which dragons can he evoke? A harmless defender that deals no damage. Wants to frail you by dealing damage, but doesn't deal damage. Deals even less damage. Won't even comment to this one. So these are basically useless. The only good evokes are these. Can be dangerous for decks with AoE damage. And ironically this one, because he frailed the player for Terror's crit turns. So 2 of 6 evokes are dangerous. Not a good quote, but at least it can be strong, right? Right? No. Evoke is random and can be re-rolled. So the best way to counter Terror is restarting the battle. Great to have a final boss you can make as easy as you want, right? Because if his evoke is useless, Terror gives you a huge amount of free turns. So Terror is the second worst enemy in the game. Because he's a free win as final boss. Before we come to the first place, some honorable mentions. Forest spiders are the weakest enemy in the game, but as they are normals in the first world, they didn't make it to the list. Rock Giant is super harmless, but he can deal damage when you have a really bad deck. Elder Dragon, the second final boss in Dragonland, is not much better than Terror. Man, this world is so easy. And here comes the worst enemy in the game. Put your hands rapidly together for Black Fury. Besides Tree of Life, Killer Seaweed and Chaos Nest, Black Fury is the only enemy that has no base damage. But while the others apply debuffs or have cool abilities, she attacks every turn and has an ability that increases her damage. She doesn't ever crit. And as abilities don't scale, Black Fury never hits hard enough. But that isn't even the worst part. Black Fury only deals damage if you allow her to. So you can manipulate the fight as hard as you wish. She's the enemy that's easiest to outplay in the entire game. Not even Rock Giant is that easy to outplay. Black Fury has no base damage, no crits, no debuffs, doesn't scale on higher infernos, is super easy to outplay, and you have to feel sorry for wasting this cool concept. So these are the 5 worst enemies in the game. Thanks for Sapphire for providing the movement patterns, and I hope you will never lose to one of them again. Don't forget to write a nice comment, like this video, and subscribe to not miss any new stuff on this channel. Next week a non-Rogue Adventure related video will launch. Hope you stay tuned. Any news are found on my Twitter profile, and feel free to contact me on Discord. Have a nice day, Captain's out.
Captain.